Selthor, you just went to Michal's house, what used to be the Lord Marshal's, Jeffrey's house. And you're now heading home. Or rather, you're not heading home, you're heading back to the Marshalship to deal with numerous problems that have come up because of all of this. So, what is Selthor planning to do whenever he arrives back at the militant?
I guess I'm sure there's plenty of paperwork to do. He's also going to see if he can coordinate First off, do we know what inflicted a wound on Jeffrey?
You could ask the doctors. Probably, you could ask if they know. But off the top of your head, like just from what you've been told so far, no, you don't know.
I guess plans on figuring that out, and then just possibly mobilizing a lot of enforcers and stuff to basically just sweep through the cities and pick up everybody that might be committing even petty crimes.
You put in a request to speak with Hulen von Gimsbach, who is acting as the Lord High Marshal currently. You then collect yourself and you arrive back at the militant, and you wanted to go check to the doctors and see what they had to say about, if they know what inflicted a wound on him.
Yeah.
Okay. The doctor who was responsible for it approaches you and, yes, my lord.
I'm here to gather some evidence on our current situation with the late Lord High Marshal.
And your question was?
There are several, but first of all, do we know are there any evidences of what possibly may have inflicted the wound?
Do we have any evidence what inflicted the wound? No, unfortunately, we don't. His body has been destroyed, and we spent all the time that he was here trying to save him.
But no physical wound.
No physical wound that I saw. This is correct.
Anything you feel like you need to share that might help this investigation, Doctor?
Is there anything I need to share? I feel like I've told everything that needs to be said to to Mr. Hulen von Gimsbach. Obviously, what killed him was, some kind of poison that rotted and destroyed his entire body. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. They knew how to kill a vampire in a way that it couldn't come back. So, it's just a lot to deal with that. But other than that, no, I'm not really aware of anything else that would be pertinent. I can hand you the entire file report if you'd like. It's a lot of just technical jargon. I'm unfortunate to inform you that we don't actually know a whole lot. Again, we spent most of our time trying to save him and didn't have enough time to investigate.
Yes, well, if you can deliver that report to me, that would be appreciated.
Very well, I'll have it delivered to you. He turns and walks away. And it appears that Mr. Gimsbach has already taken to, deploying a whole bunch of enforcers and whatnot throughout the building and other places. So he's already kind of given orders around all that kind of stuff. So, you so you just head back to your office then at that point?
Yeah.
Okay. You start heading back to your office, and an enforcer, as you round the corners, heading out of the inbuilt hospital that was, close to the Capitol building, and start making your way back that way. You see some enforcers engaged in a brief skirmish with some people. They've got batons out, and they're trying to batter people back, and a couple of them are putting up a pretty good show of a pretty good fight. And one of them is trying to, looks like he's trying to break out of the enclosure of the enforcers to get away. Like, it doesn't look like he's trying to win a fight. He's just trying to break out and get out of there. You do anything with this?
I'm going to pull out a baton, and then I'm going to look at the one. How many are there?
There's only like 6 or 7 people, maybe about like that, but there's like 20 enforcers. But like I said, these people are putting up a really good fight.
Are the enforcers being aggressive?
Obviously, yeah, they're being aggressive, but I mean, no more aggressive than the people they're fighting.
Okay. I am going to pull out a baton and walk up to them, and then on the one that's breaking out, I'm going to cast Paralyze.
Okay, and what's the save for that?
Constitution saving throw.
Constitution.
Against... $17.
He fails. And that just straight up paralyzes him, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
This dude stops moving. And you what?
And then I'm going to just very boldly say, everyone stand down.
Roll intimidation. And yeah, everyone stands. Seeing the guy that was putting up the biggest fight just be completely stopped, everyone else stands down. The people in the middle cede to the enforcer's control, but the enforcers also stopped, and they're waiting for an order from you.
Selthor looks around at the badges of the enforcers to find the one in charge.
Yeah, you see a sergeant or something. He steps. There's a sergeant there.
I look at the sergeant and I say, "What's going on here, Sergeant?"
Well, these people were found near something. Oh. They were found near something that we've been looking out for, moving in and out of an investigation. It doesn't look like the sergeant knows what to say.
Moving in and out of what investigation, Sergeant?
We were tasked to investigate something by Mr. Gimsbach a while back, and we've been keeping an eye on it. But
you can either let me help you, or I can leave your men or I can let these men.
There was. Are you aware of the portals that were used to get into the consulate building?
Is the sergeant asking that, or?
Yes.
Selthor looks at him and raises his eyebrows and says, "No, I'm not. Make me aware of them."
The sergeant, he kind of his eyes go wide. He's like, "Oh crap." Well, sir, there is a network of portals that is around the city, and one of them reached into the consulate building. That is how Mr. Gimsbach located the assassin that was going after Jeffrey Phillips, and Commander Ackerman during that ballroom party, what was it, 6 months ago, that brought him into the employ of the Lord Marshal. Along with S.E. Hassel. Well, Mr. Gimsbach, realizing the threat that these portals posed, tasked myself and a couple others with tracking them down. So that's exactly what we've been doing. We've been tracking them, and we found one of these portals today, and these gentlemen here were standing around it, and that person there, they pointed at the one you paralyzed, came out of one of those portals. We told them to stand down, they refused, and we started fighting.
I grabbed the wrist of the guy that's paralyzed and put cuffs on him and break eye contact.
Okay.
As I put him down on the ground, and then I step up to the others, and I'm like, and these men?
Like I said, they were standing around the portal, sir.
And how many are there that weren't? How many are there the others?
There are just 5. So there were 6 in total, and then there's the guy that came out of the portal, and then there are the 5 others.
I look at them and I'm like, I suggest you all stand down and...
They've already sat down and kneeled and whatnot.
Okay. I suggest you all cooperate with these men.
They nod their heads like, yes, sir. They cuff them and they take them into custody. That's what they do. They just start taking them all into custody. Do you follow them, go with them, or do you continue heading back to your office?
I tell the sergeant to give a message to Fuel to contact me whenever he gets the chance, and then I will go to my office.
As the big guy is taken to his feet, he as walked past you, he whispers only something that you can hear. As a vampire with your improved hearing, he says, "The vampires trapped us here, and they trapped you too. The time of dust is upon us. Millennium answers."
I keep walking.
Okay. You head to your office, and you arrive where a replacement has been found for you. One of the assistant. She's one of the people that was in the science division. Her name is Etris. She wears a smart, tailored suit to herself. With a business skirt, business jacket, black heel.
E-T-R-I-S.
E-T-R-I-S, yes, Etris.
Last name?
Nizivid.
Spell that.
N-I-S-V-I-D. Nizivid. Or Nizivid, either way. Etris Nizivid, sir. I have been serving under Hank Graldwich before he passed away, and I've served under Mr. Morpheus Arnok for a while. And it's come to my attention that you've recently lost an assistant, so I put in a file to be a transfer. So as you can see, she hands you her portfolio. I have experience with working with both Sarah and Davenid. I have experience working for Mr. Graldwich in his more mundane tasks. I know how to do clerking.
Out of my pocket and write down things, and I take the portfolio or whatever, and I hand her the note, and I say, I need reports on these projects. Bring them to my office as soon as possible. Welcome aboard.
Yes, sir. Are there anything specific or just?
It's the projects I mentioned that I was going to start working on. So, like the little beanbag things.
Oh, yeah, the little bean. Yep.
And then there was something else.
Could you remind me what the beanbags were for and what they did?
They're all for stuff for the Libby squad. The beanbags were for Sid because him hitting or her hitting Libby with a rock didn't take kindly.
So you just wanted
Basically, stuff that Sid could
shoot people with without hurting them.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that was pretty easy enough for. Actually, she says. Actually, I worked on this one, sir. She runs off to the lab and comes back a minute later with these little things that, yeah, they kind of do resemble bean. They look like little hard shells, but at high velocities they'll break apart, and there's a little beanbag that'll slam into something. They're not reusable, but you shouldn't be able to hurt someone with these or hurt them bad or any meaningful way anyways.
Wonderful. And there was also a list on there of all the aircrafts.
The aircraft project, sir, has stalled, unfortunately. Without Sarah's help, and with Mr. Arnok being distracted as he is, it's proving difficult to make any significant headway. We have gotten several of the gunships up and running, but the interceptors that were the primary goal of this project are still proving difficult. The hydraulics are not standing the stress well.
Get me a meeting with Dabinett.
Very well. She starts writing stuff down and takes a position at her desk, which up until recently belonged to Sylvana, until you fired her for not showing up for a while.
2 days to be exact.
So yeah, you head into your office and you take a seat, and you look up, and the vent has not been moved. None of your vents have been moved, and you know that none of the stuff in any of your safes or anything like that have been touched.
I'm going to pull up reports from what's his name that went to Nelia.
Oh, the patrician?
Yeah.
Lord Havelock, Veterinary.
If he's reported back at all.
Yes. The games have the most recent game ended again with a Leviathan victory. Y'all have won, I believe, 2 out of the 3 games that have happened so far.
And he kind of smiles to himself, never showing on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And then he is going to pull up paperwork, projects, start working.
Okay. You start working on all that different kind of stuff. Late into the night.
I'm going to pull up the hydraulic system.
Okay. You pull it up and you start looking over it, and sure enough, like what she said, like it's a lot of pressure, like to handle all that weight on the arms, and moving all that is generating a ton of heat, and so the stress that is created by the heat is destroying the hydraulic systems. Like, it's good for 1 or 2 moves, and then it just kind of breaks apart.
He's gonna start looking at lighter materials.
But also the feet, like the front of the wings.
Mm-hmm.
because they're made of such light material to allow it to fly, whenever they hit the ground, they bend and buckle and break and ruin the aerodynamics of it. And so Dabinid has been trying to come up with a material that can repair itself. He's proven that it can work, and he's managed to manufacture it in small amounts, but it's nowhere near as large scale as it would need to be for this to be a viable option. So theoretically, y'all could make something right now with what you have that would be what you wanted, but it would be so astronomically expensive and time-consuming to make them that they just haven't yet. And they're trying to find more elegant solutions than just, make a super material to get it done, you know?
Yeah. He's going to pull up some, I guess, algorithms, work on any kind of thing he can with the hydraulics.
Okay. Give me a...
I think looking at different cooling mechanisms.
Give me an engineering check.
Engineering?
Yes. That's a technology check. The three subsects are physics, engineering, and...
But it is a technology check?
Yeah, and the last one is computer tech, yeah. It's bio, computer, and engineering, I think.
Okay.
Does it say you have proficiency in any of those?
I have tech.
Okay, then yeah, just give me a technology check, please.
So I have advantage on willpower saves. Can I be...
Just through sheer force of will, can I fix this?
Yes.
No.
I am determined for this.
I will let you stay there all night, and you get to roll a second time. But first, what was your first roll?
18 was the first one.
18. Yeah, there are plenty of cooling systems, but then the problem of of weight gets expedited because, like, anything that's good enough to handle the cooling is just too heavy to be practical to put on it. Like, you just have to scale everything up, and then, the problem of weight becomes unsolvable at that. Like, it's no longer a problem of heat, it's now a problem of, I don't have the hydraulics to lift this much weight anymore,
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just, there's not, you don't really have anything to do to be able to fix it.
Okay, so the problem is maintaining the weight, right?
No, it's not maintaining the weight. It's like you have the hydraulics to move the wings to behave as legs like you want them to. But that creates a lot of heat because there's a lot of weight on them. The hydraulics can handle the weight, they just start overheating, and then the stress from the heat makes them wear out incredibly quickly. So you need to put a cooling system on it, but every cooling system you can come up with that could handle the heat that is generated is a massive...
So currently what we have ships that can land and take off, but that cannot move aside from that.
Yes. Sarah very quickly came up with an ingenious propulsion system. They're essentially jet engines.
So it can take off and land without complications.
Without too many complications, yeah. The only complication that's left for landing and taking off like you want it to is the deformation of the wings when they land, because you're landing on the wings. So, but yeah, as it stands with the gunship stuff attached to the base, the interceptors can take off and land. So they are functional. They're just not what y'all want yet.
To be honest, walking was never a plan. So
well, I mean, landing how you want it is also...
Yeah, that's where...
Because the wings are deforming. Where is the image? Yeah, there we go. So the problem they're having right now, so you see how it's landing on its little knuckles right there? Yeah. And the back things? those are both bending. And because they're lightweight materials that you're supposed to fly on, they are breaking when they land because, that's hard to land like that. Now, the propulsion system is very efficient. It's not very fast. So, they're the same speed as the gunships and the transports. So it's not super quick comparatively. It's quicker than, a lot of things out there, but it's not what y'all want. These are supposed to be interceptors. They're supposed to be fast. They're supposed to be capable, and it's not working.
Honestly, forget the interceptors. At this point, he's going to pull up the base design with everything we know that is working, and add a little bit of landing stuff, like a couple. Once you hit low altitudes, once you set it to land, that adds extra, puts a little bit of reverse boosters towards the front and everything to give maybe a softer landing, and then going to add the larger improved railguns on it.
Okay, so you're changing the design of the interceptor?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want the railguns are his babies.
The railguns create their own problem on the interceptors because of the interceptor's small frames. You don't really have room for lots of ammo on them. So las guns are the only options for a.
All I need is 3 rounds per ship.
Wow. Okay. Railguns are very fast and very accurate. But an ace pilot in World War II took out 3 enemy planes. And if you have to take 3 shots and then land before you can do anything else, as a military person, you would understand the terrible constraint that puts your pilots under.
So how many people does one ship hold?
An interceptor? An interceptor holds 3 people at most, at max.
So currently the hands, quote unquote, fold back.
This is correct. I mean, it's not really a problem.
But that's what's effectively bending and buckling.
Well, I mean, anything you land on is going to bend and buckle because of the weight issue.
Yeah.
It's a lightweight material that's designed for, allowing you to fly, but when you land on the wings, they're going to bend.
Yep. He's going to pull up a little bit redesign a little bit of the wing, where when the hand comes down and lands, add an electromagnetic shock, basically.
Okay.
That allows the back, whenever it lands, it'll be pushed out, and so whenever it hits the ground, it'll instead of the wing.
So you're basically wanting to create a force field.
So the wrists currently, whenever hold back.
Yeah.
So we're currently landing while the wrists whenever we land, the wrists are actually pushed out and whenever they touch the ground, they act as a shock to absorb
Right.
the impact.
That goes back to the weight problem. That adds a lot of unnecessary weight to the wings, which interferes with flight.
But that's why if it's an electromagnetic, which is part of what we're...
Batteries are, electromagnets are heavy, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
But in comparison to what we have now, they don't add too much.
Copper is very heavy. To create an electromagnet, you have to use very tightly coiled copper. If you want it to be a strong electromagnet, you have to have a lot of copper that's coiled very, very tightly. And if you're wanting it to be like you want a shock absorber, you're going to need brakes in it. So it's basically a reverse railgun. You're using the magnetism to slow you down instead of speed you up, which means you're going to have coils going down the wing around the central shaft of the the wrist to work as your shock absorber. That's very heavy. That's going to require a lot of weight and from very powerful magnets. Does that make sense?
We're on two different tracks. Never mind.
Okay. So how are you proposing a electromagnet brake? If that's not what you were imagining, explain to me what you're imagining.
Effectively, it's two magnets, opposite poles facing each other. I mean, same poles, whatever. Hell. Facing each other.
Right.
That work as a shock absorber because they never hit. I'm not good at describing things.
No, I understand what you're saying. So you're saying you have two really powerful magnets facing each other, repelling each other, and they're during flight they're inactive, and then whenever you're coming into land, they activate, repelling away from each other, and you have something attached to one end, preventing the wrist from just flying off. And so as they hit, they collapse in toward each other, and then after impact, they shut off.
Yeah. Effectively.
That would work, but again, it's not so much the weight problem. Well, it's a different weight problem. It is the problem that it's a lot of weight on a magnet, and so it's not very effective as a shock because magnets repel each other when they're very close to each other. When you put magnets at a distance from each other, the effect of them falls off exponentially.
But this is also on top of the reverse boosters.
Well, I mean, yeah, that would work. Yeah, the reverse boosters on their own would work. But you've already proven that with the gunships and with the transports. You've already proven that with the transports that the reverse boosters work. That's how carriages function. Yeah. But y'all are trying to create something faster and stronger and all that other kind of stuff. So the goal is, strip off all the unnecessary weight, i.e., reverse boosters.
Well,
and
currently we don't need fast, as long as we can get a strong up. We can.
So you don't want to be working on the interceptor. You want to be working on the gunship.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as we can get something strong up, we can work on fast later.
Dapanid has not been working on the gunships. He's been working on the interceptors. That's because you never gave us a design for the gunships.
Well, so if we're going bats for interceptors, gunships are big, so let's go dragon. Gunship. So from what we're seeing, though, one set of hydraulics can lift a wing for flight.
Yes.
So what if we go helicarrier style on top of that?
Okay, show me give me an idea of what you're talking about.
Something like exploits,
Okay.
but also with Sarah's propulsion systems and the wings.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you start working on a gunship. Well, anyways, you're here very late into the night. And eventually, Etris heads home, and as soon as she leaves, there's a knock at your door.
I go check who it is, I guess.
You open the door, and there's a person standing there. With a nondescript face, nondescript clothes, nondescript hair. He looks at you and says, Mr. Selthor?
Who's looking for him?
I am, he says, looking confused.
And you are?
Ah, my name is Nephirith.
And you are?
Nephirith?
And your business with him?
Are you Mr. Selthor? Are you the Lieutenant Colonel, or are you not?
What do you need me for?
I am here to ask you a few questions. Can I come in?
I guess. Come in.
He walks in and sits down and says, So, Lieutenant Commander, or is it Lieutenant Colonel? I can never keep track of the titles.
Lieutenant Colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel. Well, I've never been much of a beat around the bush kind of person. It has come to my attention that your superior officer has been involved in some less than scrupulous activities as of late, not least of which being snatching up governmental resources in the form of an individual known as Sarah. Are you familiar with this individual?
Selthor's eyebrows raise and he says, And how did you come across this information?
He smiles. Not important. What is important is, he pulls out 2 photographs and sets them down. He's wearing a long trench coat, by the way. He pulls out 2 photographs and sets them on the table, and one of them shows Sarah being corralled by several men in clandestine uniforms. One of them with their face toward the camera, obviously not seeing the camera, but dragging the person. And the other person is, everyone else is like, you can't really tell what they are. But then in the next image, it's Commander Ackerman's house, with that same individual walking up the steps, and Ackerman greeting him, welcoming him into the house. You might want to look into it. Just an idea. Tell me, I've always wondered what's it like to be a vampire. He stands up and like starts looking around your room, looking around the office. What's it like knowing that you've got eternity to look forward to? Not having to worry about today.
Eternity is not something I ever look forward to. As I'm looking over the photos.
I see.
Can I tell if they're altered at all?
Not at a cursory glance. You'd have to go get some, others. You'd have to get someone more experienced in it to look over it.
And are these all the photos you have?
I have more, but
you have more.
Indeed. Tell me, do you pick all this out yourself, or does some kind of decorator come through and pick it out for you?
What is he looking at?
Just your decorations on your wall, the inlay and the carpet and the couch and whatnot.
I picked all this out myself.
You have good tastes.
Yeah,
it's very homely. I came from a small town, a little cabin. My mother raised me by herself. We spent a lot of time hunting and taking care of things, and well, eventually she died, and I was left to take care of the hearth myself, and eventually I moved on to better things, moved to the big city, the bright lights.
In my opinion, nothing better than home.
I agree.
False move.
And we all want what we don't have, and we all long for freedom. Wouldn't you say?
One thing I've learned is to not make up assumptions from my own feelings of what everybody else wants.
But people like us, people found in strange circumstances that we never asked for, people with a taste of freedom, surely people like us want it.
He looks up from the pictures at the man. I find it hard to believe that you compare yourself to someone you just met.
Perhaps I speak too brashly, but I think you can tell a lot of a man from what they wear and how they decorate their home.
Or the pictures they take of them. But
indeed, the pictures one takes of their house or themselves can tell you about them as well. Are they constantly taking glory shots of themselves with nice belongings behind them? That tells you that they are boastful or bragging, or vainglorious. Or if they only occasionally post something that they've worked hard toward, then perhaps they are merely proud. So yes, pictures that one takes can indeed tell you much about them. He walks forward and leans toward you a little bit, but not touching your desk. What can you tell about me, Lieutenant Colonel?
he looks at the man and says, like I said, I find it hard to make assumptions about someone you've just met.
Indeed. Eventually we're all forced to make decisions we don't like to make. Eventually, we have to choose. Have a good day, Lieutenant Colonel. He walks toward the door and opens it, closes it behind him.